I'm going to read A Possum Come A-Knockin'. You want me to read that? Okay, here we go. Possum come a-knockin' at the door. Possum come a-knockin' at the door. Granny was a-sittin' and a-rockin' and a-knittin' when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Ma was busy cooking in the kitchen making taters when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Pa was busy fixing and a-banging and a-pounding when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Pappy was whittling making play toys for the baby when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Sis was tossing baby while Pappy was a-whittling when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Brother was untangling all the twine line for fishing while Sis was tossing baby and Pappy was a-whittling and Paul was busy fixing and Ma was busy cooking and Granny was knitting when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Coon dog was a-twitching and a-scratching in the corner when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Tomcat started sniffing and a-spitting and a-hissing when a possum come a-knockin' at the door. What's that? Sis said. Don't know, brother said. What's that? Paul said. Don't know, Granny said. But the cat, she said, that cat ought to go. Then dog started sniffing at a pawing and a growling while cat tail a-twitching was a-hissing and a-howling, making Granny stop a-knitting and Pappy stop a-whittling and baby start a-fussing and sis and brother start a-cussing. Cause the little old possum was a-knocking at the door. What's that? Granny said. Don't know, Pappy said. What's that? Ma said. Don't know, Paul said. Then I creepy crossed the floor and peeked under the door. It's a possum come a-knockin' at the door. It's a possum come a-knockin' at the door. Then brother came a-leaping and sis came a-rattling and baby started crawling and dog started howling and Pappy was a-chuckling and Granny's eyes were a-trinkling as Ma followed Paul to the door. Now hush, Paul said. Now hush, Ma said. And slowly Paul opened the door. Now y'all stop y'all's hollering, y'all's fussing and a-cussing, cause there's nothing that's a-knocking at the door. No possum, Pappy said. No possum, Paul said. No possum, Granny said. No possum, Ma said. And then we all started doing like before. Granny was a-sitting while Pappy was a-whittling. And Ma was a-cooking while Paul was a-fixing. And brother was untangling while sis was tossing baby and coon dog was a-scratching and Tomcat was a-licking and I was just a-sitting and a-looking out the window when I saw what I saw scoot up the old oak tree. And what is that scooting up the old oak tree there? A possum was a-scooting and a-scrambling and a-dangling. That possum that was knocking made a fool out of me. The end. You like that book? You like that book? You want me to read another book? You want me to read Hiawatha? Let's look. Look at here. Look right here. You see that name? That is your daddy's name. This was his book when he was a little boy. Yeah. By the shores of Gitche-Gumee, by the shining big sea water, stood the wigwam of Nakoma, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. Dark behind it rose the forest, rose the black and gloomy pine trees, rose the firs with cones upon them, bright before it beat the water, beat the clear and sunny water, beat the shining big sea water. There the old wrinkled Nokomis nursed the little Hiawatha, rocked him in his linden cradle, bedded soft in moss and rushes, safely bound with reindeer sinews, stilled his fretful wail by saying, "Hush! The naked bear will hear thee," lulled him into sleep and slumber, singing, "Ee-ah-wee, my little owlet, who is this that lights the wigwam with his gray eyes like the wigwam? Ee-ah-wee, my little owlet." Many things Nokomis taught him. Of the stars that shine in heaven, showed him Ishkadu the comet, Ishkadu with fiery tresses, showed him the death dance of the spirits, warriors with their plumes and war clubs, flaring far away to northward in the frosty nights of winter. Showed him the broad white road to heaven, pathway of the ghosts, the shadows, running straight across the heavens, crowded with the ghosts, the shadows. At the door on summer evenings sat the little Hiawatha, heard the whispering of the pine trees, heard the lapping of the waters, sounds of music, words of wonder. Many wawa, said the pine trees. Madreushka, said the waters. Saw the firefly, Wawateshi, flitting through the dusk of evening, with the twinkle of its candle lighting up the brakes and bushes. And he sang the song of children, sang the song Nokomis taught him. Wawateshi, little firefly, little flitting white fire insect, little dancing white fire creature, light me with your candle. Ere upon my bed I lay me, ere in sleep I close my eyelids. Saw the moon rise from the water, rippling, rounding from the water. Saw the flecks and shadows on it. Whispered, "What is that, Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "Once a warrior, very angry, seized his grandmother and threw her up in the sky at midnight. Right against the moon he threw her. 'Tis her body you see there." Saw the rainbow in the heaven, in the eastern sky, the rainbow. Whispered, "What is that, Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "'Tis the heaven of the flowers you see there. All the wild flowers of the forest, all the lilies of the prairie, when on earth they fade and perish, blossom in that heaven above us." Ah, look at that picture. Look at that picture. When he heard the owls at midnight hooting, laughing in the forest, "What is that?" he cried in terror. "What is that?" he said, Nokomis. And the good Nokomis answered, that is but the owl and the owlet, talking in their native language, talking, scolding at each other. And then the little Hiawatha learned of every bird its language, learned their names and all their secrets, how they built their nests in summer and where they hid themselves in winter, talked with them whene'er he met them, called them Hiawatha's chickens. Of all the beasts he learned the language, learned their names and all their secrets, how the beavers built their lodges and where the squirrels hid their acorns, how the reindeer ran so swiftly and why the rabbit was so timid. Talked with them where'er he met them, called them Hiawatha's brothers. Ye who love a nation's legends, love the ballads of a people, let the voices from afar off call us to pause and listen. Speak in tones so plain and childlike, scarcely can the ear distinguish whether they are sung or spoken. Listen to this Indian legend, to this song of Hiawatha. Oh yeah, look at that picture. Say good night, Grandmommy.